Hey everyone, this is Kevin, your failed journalist. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here and you happen to like this video, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell notification so you can be notified when new videos come up. Alright, so I actually want to talk about this story. This was a major news story that Disney sets major reorganization around Disney Plus. And I'm sure a lot of you were waiting, first of all, for me to comment on this because when this story broke, you saw a lot of headlines that Disney was killing the theatrical experience and you wanted to know my thoughts on it. Well, here's the thing. I waited a few days on purpose to comment on this, to basically wait for all the noise that surrounded the topic to drown out. But I want to state what a lot of you are predictably probably expecting. No, I don't think this is going to kill the theatrical experience. But then I'm also going to say something you probably are not expecting me to say. I actually think this is a positive thing. And that might surprise a lot of you, but that's because I've read this, I read the news articles, I read the press releases, I thought about it, and with a little bit of combination of listening to James Stewart's Disney War on audiobook recently through Scribd, which I recommend over Audible, obviously, I definitely have a unique opinion on what I believe this is. Now, maybe it is what it is at face value, but you know what? Hey, it wouldn't be YouTube if it wasn't some conspiracy theory. And the thing about this announcement, and this may surprise you, is I don't think this is actually about Disney Plus. Not really. Yes, they wanted it to appear to be about Disney Plus because right now Disney Plus is the only thing that's doing well for Disney. Still losing money, of course, but it's the only thing that's working for them, as half their theme parks are still closed and the theater exhibition is still in chaos. And they did that on purpose, but when you look a little deeper, you'll see that this is actually really more or less about Bob Chapek starting to put his stamp of approval on Disney. And what is about streaming is actually not a negative thing. Now, let's read this word for word just so we know exactly what we're talking about. So, Disney CEO Bob Chapek announced a major restructuring on Monday, which will put its streaming service Disney Plus at the center of the company's operations. Which, by the way, I believe for the time being that is a true statement because it's the only thing that they can actually do right now, but here's why that won't be a forever thing. The new structure will be geared towards a focus on developing and producing original content for the company's streaming services, Disney said in announcing its reorganization on Monday. The most prominent change is the combination of the distribution and ad sales team, which will be led by Kareem Daniel, who served as president of Consumer Products, Games, and Publishing. By the way, I should note that while, Kareem might be good for this job, he does not have any experience in streaming, which is one of the reasons I believe this is not completely about streaming, but again, we'll get there in a moment. The Media and Entertainment Distribution Group will be in charge of running Disney streaming media services and TV networks in addition to oversight of P&L management and all distribution operations, sales, advertising, data, and technology functions. Rebecca Campbell will still head up Disney's direct-to-consumer operations, but will now report to Daniel. Now, here's kind of one of the key things here that some people seem to be overlooking. Disney is putting its content development into three groups: studios, general entertainment, and sports, which is now separate from distribution. The three groups will be headed by their current leaders Alan Horn and Alan Bergman, Peter Rice, and James Spatario. Disney Parks, Experiences, and Products will continue to operate under its existing structure led by Josh D'Amaro. Rebecca Campbell will serve as chairman, international operations, and direct-to-consumer. So there's still three groups. Campbell was named to replace Kevin Mayer as head of Disney's direct-to-consumer unit earlier this year. Her roles managing the international operations and DTC unit will now be separate, where she'll report to Chapek on international operations while reporting to Daniel on direct-to-consumer matters. So here's the thing. All three of these development groups will now report to Daniel. And Daniel will be deciding what goes where. And this is for everything. This is for TV, streaming, and theatrical. So the first thing you will notice in this article is that it does not say movie theaters are passé. They're done for. It also, by the way, doesn't say TV networks are done. We're not focusing on that anymore, but that doesn't seem to be as sexy of a headline for a lot of newspapers, so, they just don't talk about that. But the thing is, Disney will still be making content for all three. It's just going to be up to this guy and his department to decide where that's going to go. Now then, I have heard other YouTubers say things like, well, I guess this means like Ant-Man 3, for example, will probably be a prime candidate for Disney Plus, and we will never see it inside of movie theaters if the movie theaters survive. With all due respect to this person, whose show I love, I want to add, I don't think that would ever happen. Because yes, Alan Horn and Kevin Feige don't get a decision in things like this, but then if you want to continue working with a Kevin Feige, you will do things to make a Kevin Feige happy. If Kevin Feige says, hey, all of the Marvel movies need to be in theaters because that's what they're designed for, and we do not want them on Disney Plus. If you want Kevin Feige to keep producing them, you release them in theaters. Therefore, Kevin Feige is happy and he stays with Marvel. Otherwise, you want to piss him off, put him on Disney Plus and see how long he's going to stick there. You make concessions for the talent, so I'm not concerned about that. But here's what I am excited about, and this is why I think this is not a terrible thing. Disney makes a lot of movies, and there's a reason that they dominate the box office. Because they've got big movies, they've got small movies, they've got mid-tier movies. Disney Plus is a success for Disney. It is a success by any measurement, but there is one glaring problem with Disney Plus. And that problem is that Disney Plus has a miserable, and I mean miserable, retention rate. Disney Plus has kind of been stuck at around 50 to 70 million subscribers since day one because it has the same problem that other streaming services inevitably find themselves in. And that is that, well, people will subscribe to watch a specific thing, and then when that thing is over, they will cancel. So, one day after The Mandalorian ended, subscribers start dropping like flies. I mean, we're not talking like, a 75% drop, but quite a few people cancel after The Mandalorian ends. Not me. I prepaid for 3 years. I'm clearly in it for the long haul. And then Hamilton comes out, and people subscribe to watch Hamilton. And then after they watch Hamilton, they don't even stick around for a second month. They don't stick around a second month. Mulan comes out, okay, there is an uptick in subscribers. How shocked were they to find out that they would have to pay additional money, and so thus not a lot of them actually buy Mulan. But, hey, okay, more people subscribe. Now, and then we're going to have Soul coming out, and I'm sure a lot of people subscribe to Soul, but, it won't, they'll drop off afterwards, which is why they have WandaVision and The Mandalorian coming out very shortly afterwards. But here's why this is a good thing. This encourages Disney on 3 fronts. They do have their television network where the people who are a little bit older and maybe not as tech savvy, they can still watch their shows on ABC. Then you have the theaters. This is where your Marvel movies go, your Star Wars movies, any potential franchise starters, and your Pixar and Disney animated films. Soul is a very rare exception. I don't expect us to ever see a Pixar movie premiering on Disney Plus ever again, unless the theaters go extinct, which I don't think is going to happen. But then you have all these mid-tier movies, and look, they're good, and they do make money at theaters. Don't get me wrong, but they don't make the kind of money that turns heads. But if they're modestly budget at between 10 to 50 million, well, a Disney Plus subscriber, 60, 70 million Disney Plus subscribers, 1 month of those will pay for that movie. So they could put it onto Disney Plus to encourage people to keep their Disney Plus subscriptions. So what we're going to have is we're going to really have the best of all worlds. More stuff will actually now probably get made. And yeah, a lot of it will probably go to Disney Plus, but it will also make your Disney Plus subscription more valuable. Yeah, I would hate it if the next Star Wars movie premiered on Disney Plus. I think a lot of people would, because they want to see that on an IMAX or a Dolby Cinema or something like that. But Stargirl? Hey, that's a cute enough movie, but it's, probably not going to make big bucks at the box office. So, put it on Disney Plus. Then, or what about, what was another one? Clouds. Clouds is a faith-based film, and while I think that would probably do well in theaters because, churches tend to rent out theaters for these types of movies, if that's the movie of the month, then people might, I think a lot of Christian families would, maintain their $7 Disney Plus subscription for another month to watch Clouds. Like, why not? Hey, that saves us a trip to the theaters. And of course, what movies like these have in common is that, like what about, boy, I'm going back way. Does anyone remember this Max Keeble's Big Move? That movie has not been relevant for a very, very long time. I don't know why I'm thinking about it, but I kind of remember that movie. And that movie did modestly well at the box office, but did much better on DVD because parents saw it and it's like, yeah, it'll keep my kids entertained, but I don't think I really want to take them to the theaters to see it. Movies like those that have very little box office potential and most likely no Academy Award potential will, go to Disney Plus. That's another thing about this awards. If Disney feels that a movie will win them some awards, they will put the movie in theaters because after this year, the streaming eligibility, which the Academy has put in for this year only, because of the pandemic, will be reversed and movies will have to be seen in theaters again to be eligible for Academy Awards. If Disney feels they have something special, they will put it in the theater. And, by the way, this includes their animated films and their Marvel movies, because if they send their animated films or Marvel movies to Disney Plus, no Oscars consideration in the following year. So that's something else to keep in mind. So I actually think this is positive. Now, why on earth... Oh, yeah, and there's one more thing. I can't believe I almost forgot this. The whole point. Now, what was the real point of this announcement? It was not to announce that they were going to be bypassing theaters completely and screwing them and just going straight to streaming. That's not what this is about. No, this was about Bob Chapek putting his stamp on Disney. Because here's what happens when you have a new person in charge. They clean house. People get fired or people get replaced and they put their own people in charge. That's what they do. So you'll notice that this comes with a restructuring announcement. That means some people, unfortunately, will be fired. And you'll see that people like Kevin Feige and Alan Horn, who used to report to Bob Iger, are now reporting to Kareem Daniel. He's now their boss, and Kareem is Bob Chapek's guy. So this is just very, very typical of what happens. And they stress the streaming because right now that is what's hot and that's what they can do. And that's to ensure investors that they're doing something. Now, I don't know how happy investors are, because if you look at the stock, right, these couple days, this is when the announcement was made. This was the day the announcement was made, I believe. And you see it went up, and then it goes right back down as people realize, oh, that means, oh, streaming, that means we're going to be giving stuff away for free. Oh, I don't know if we really like that too much. So, but this is what it's all really about. Bob Chapek is the new CEO. Now, when Bob Iger was fired, and I fully believe he was fired, Iger kept representing the company and doing the press release. And I think at one point Chapek was like, okay, you know what? I'm the boss now. I'm going to be doing the press conferences. I'm going to be doing the investors meetings. And he's starting to take control of the company. So this is when we're going to start seeing what Disney under Chapek looks like. But I do not believe that this means Disney is completely screwing the movie theaters, although they certainly are with Soul, and they're screwing themselves with Soul, in my opinion. That opinion has not changed. But this is Disney restructuring. It's putting new people in charge. It's so Chapek can start molding Disney in his own image. But keep in mind, last year, the movie theater industry was a nearly $12 billion industry. A lot of that went towards Disney. And Disney does not want to get rid of that. However, they can save on a lot of marketing costs and distribution, and they don't have to share the cut with mid-tier movies, because now they will put just enough content on Disney Plus to make it worth your while and my while to keep our subscriptions. And they will still put the major movies in theaters where they are best seen. And there is one more additional positive thing about this. And ironically, it involves the competition. Because not every competitor is going to have their own streaming service. They're going to try, but it's called the streaming wars for a reason. Not all of them will have enough success to justify stuff going straight to streaming, and some of them will become they'll license their movies. We'll see how Paramount Plus does. But here's the thing. With Disney moving more of their mid-tier movies to streaming, that leaves more screens available for other movies, other adult movies, other kids movies, whatever you may have. And so the competition will have less Disney movies to compete with in the years ahead, and that's going to be interesting because you hear a lot of actors and directors gripe about how Disney dominates the marketplace. Well, maybe Disney will only dominate 5 months out of the year now, and the other months, the other studios will have a bigger share of that pie. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens when Disney doesn't have a movie in theaters every single month. So that'll be very fascinating to watch. But anyway, those are my thoughts on this whole situation. What do you think? Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? If not, well, hey, if you do or you don't, I'd like to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.